Good day. It is another episode of That 90s Baseball Pod. I'm your host, Brandon Warren, and across the screen from me is Mr. Gregg Olson. You can follow him on Twitter at GREGGOLSON 30. How are we doing today, man?
We're doing good. How about you?
Good. And I hope people are watching this on YouTube because it's going to be more of a video feature. It's something I was thinking about, kind of kicking around ideas. If this episode works, we'll probably do it as bonus content on our Patreon, find a way to get some money out of people, which is important. We always want to find a way to compensate Mr. Olson for his time and maybe a little for me as well. But the idea is I've been going through my baseball cards here for the last 2 weeks or so. I got some from a friend. He was just trying to get rid of them. And so got a couple books of them. And yeah, exactly. I don't know why you would do that, but it made me go through my collection as well. And so I separated them into guys who played for the Twins. So we probably won't run into any of yours in this game, but we'll see. Guys who played for the Twins, the cards that I really like but may not be that valuable, and then the other ones that are in like top loaders, like this Randy Johnson rookie card here. So that's kind of a good one. But we talked about in our first episode your first baseball card. I think you said you and your girlfriend at the time went to a CVS like a half hour away and went and tracked it down.
So CVS was probably a Walgreens, and that girlfriend turned out to be my wife. So it was, pre-internet days. So not quite sure how we got word that, unless I was just patrolling Walgreens every day during the off season of my 88 year. But baseball cards came in. I think I bought a box and went digging through them, and finally, I think I found one of my cards.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go through my cards. I have a big box of them of just random cards, and then we're going to call it Remembering Some Guys. And I will thumb through them. I will say the player's name. I might read some off the back. I might have a story of my own. Probably not as good as any of your stories, but who knows? We'll see. And just have fun with it. Now, do you have a favorite baseball card of yourself? Because it might be maybe you were an insert card. Maybe you had a good picture. Maybe it was coming off a good year and your card is more valuable. For whatever reason, do you have a favorite card of yourself?
I got a couple stories on some cards.
Okay. Can I jump in for one? I was thumbing through my cards and I found a Gregg Olson one that said Gregg Olson enjoys relaxing, playing Nintendo games. And I was like, ooh, I got to ask him about that one.
Yeah, no, that was a good one. Man, we had, so my rookie year, 89, I think this was the last year that MLB had roommates. You could pay the extra however much for the rest of the hotel room and get your own room, which the bigger guys did. But us guys, I think my rookie salary was $68,000. So I wasn't going to pay $3,000 for a hotel room by myself. So Jim Traber was my roommate, and Trabes and I, and we had a couple other guys. Bob Balaki would play Nintendo. We had a couple guys. And so whatever new video game came out, Traber and I would go at it. It would be, some military, find everything, go through the whatever, and beat the game. So the game's officially been beaten, and that was the only time we stopped playing it. So there was a couple times where we got security called on us because it was 3 a.m. and we're just sitting there playing Nintendo, and that was it. I mean, there's a couple times where it was like, okay, it's 4:00, we really got to go to sleep.
So you playing like Super Contra and all that, or
yes,
what are you playing?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Jackal was one of my favorites. You just troll along the ground like you're in the military and you're shooting out of a tank, and you're rescuing these guys, and you're blowing up buildings and then rescuing guys, which is kind of counterintuitive, because if you blow up a building, you're probably not rescuing anybody out of it. But I digress. But yeah, so
but you're opening up doors for them to come out. Is what
sure.
By using the tank, you're blowing up a door.
Sure. So was it regular Nintendo? Did it progress to Super Nintendo, Sega? Where did you I mean, by the time you retired, I suppose PS2 was probably out at that point, but I don't know. Late in your career, I don't know if you were still playing the games.
I wasn't. I think I got to Sega. You know, it was a lot of golf.
Yep.
Went to the Braves. There's, you know, all those guys, Glavin, Maddox, Merker, all those guys played the Sega golf. So we'd, you know, do a 4-man tournament or something, or Mark Lemke had never played before, so he got real caught up in the Sega hockey.
Yeah, NHL 95 probably.
Yeah,
that's a good game.
And
that was the first one I got for NHL. It was a great game.
Yeah, so that was pretty entertaining. So that was my Nintendo stories.
So they actually have a cult following for NHL 94, which is considered the best of that series in that era. And it still continues to this day with updated rosters and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I'm a video game guy myself. I'm sitting next to a PS5 that I've barely played since I got it in August, but been a little busy with work in this. Now, we were talking about your favorite cards, and you said you had a couple stories, and I interrupted you. So feel free to jump back into that.
Well, the problem is I cannot think of the card. I can give you a year, but I cannot think of the card itself. It wasn't Topps. It wasn't Donruss. Was not Fleer. So there's a couple other brands. I can't think of what it was, but there was one that had a picture of me with a beard. So it had to be going into the 93 season, and my head was shaved. And so if you know me, I was a little thin on top, and maybe it's 92. Billy Ripken and I were in spring training together, and it was hot in Sarasota. For some reason, we were bored after practice and didn't leave the clubhouse, and we got talking, and it was like we both needed a haircut. So he found some shears and started on the top of my head. And you don't, usually start on the side and see how everything looks. He started dead down the middle on the top, and it was like a 2 or a 1. And as soon as he did it, he just goes, "Oh crap!"
There's no going back from that.
Yeah, well, it was more of an "oh shit," but it was "oh crap." And, I'm just like, "What?" And he goes, "You can do my hair after this." And I was like, I kind of felt the top, and I was like, "Yep." So ended up with the shaved look, and Billy had the same thing after that.
So we can't talk about baseball cards without talking about the Billy Ripken F blank 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 face card. When did that get back to him, and what was the story around that? Because that's one of the that's one of the funniest cards of all time. It has to be. Yeah. I mean, one of the more iconic cards of all time. It's not exactly Honus Wagner's T whatever, but it's pretty iconic.
I never found out how many were out there.
It's rare. It's rare. I would love to get my hands on one, but I don't think I want to pay what the toll would be.
Well, I mean, it wasn't Topps.
It was a Fleer. I think it was a Fleer 88. I think you said
it was 88. I know that. I don't. I'd like to know how many got out, because I'm curious that actually nobody caught that.
I'm looking it up right now. I'm sure this is making for great radio. But
well, I just found it funny. Everybody was like, "Oh, I'm sure it's moved past it by now," but everybody was like
89. I guess 89. Estimated PSA value $2,000.
Wow.
So,
well, it was 88. It was
89 88 picture for 89 probably.
Yes.
I'm trying to see. Oh, Randy Johnson's rookie card also had a Marlboro cigarettes ad on it, so that was controversial that year too. Let's see. how many. We're looking up how many. Original card was selling for 1,000 at the time. I'm trying to find quickly here how many were
It doesn't matter.
produced.
I was just curious how many got out. You know?
I bet it wasn't very many. I bet it was a few hundred maybe.
Well, I always found it funny that everybody's running around and if you know Billy Ripken, everybody's working through it and going, who would do that to him? That's just, it's wrong. It's brutal. And I'm like, kind of looking at it going, did you ever notice that it was facing perfectly straight up?
Right. Yeah.
I was like, come on. Like, so,
it looks like 3,000 of them got out.
Wow. I did not get one.
Well, and when you talk about cards now, rarity is kind of the spice of life, which again, I mean, it used to be when I was collecting kind of in my middle era, not as a kid, not as a full grown adult, but kind of in my early 20s, the jersey cards were cool and the relics and signatures and stuff. And now it's parallels and colors and all that stuff. You get a Jason Dominguez, who's like 19 years old in the Yankee system. He's got cards worth 20 grand because they make 2 of them. So it is what it is, but they made millions of these cards back in the day. And so if you've got just a common, Gregg Jeffries card, like we'll talk about here, it's probably worth 5 cents, but it is what it is. When you were playing though, did a lot of the pictures and a lot of the card stuff take place in spring training?
Yes.
Does it kind of seem like it?
We would do this was back in late 80s, early 90s, where it was picture day, one day. So you'd get there early and you just go walking through. And by the end of it, you'll see some of my faces were just like, yeah, stone cold glare. It's 7 a.m. You're killing me with all these. That was some of them. I remember it was Fleer. Might have been Fleer. I can't think of what do we got. We got Fleer, Donruss, Tops,
Leaf, Pinnacle, OPG.
You know what?
I got some of the more of the niche ones, I guess.
No, I'm thinking. I
Don
can't
Russ.
think of what it was, but there was one good one of me with like Oakley sunglasses on, sitting in the dugout.
Oh, that's cool.
And then the other story that I had, and I can't think if it was a Donruss, Leaf, Fleer, but Mike Pagliarulo is sliding into home plate as a Twin. Mm-hmm. And it was the worst game of my career.
I think I have that one. I think I saw that one while I was sorting.
And I am sitting on top of home plate getting a wild pitch throw from Bob Melvin. And I'm sitting on, and you know how as a kid, as a pitcher, you grew up, and I grew up sliding into home plate from the pitcher's mound and getting the throw and colliding, laying a tag, hammering somebody, whatever it was.
Right.
And so I did it again. And this one I'm sliding in, and I think that was 90. That was 91. That was Memorial Stadium. We had throwback jerseys back to 1966. I gave up 5 runs in a third of an inning. Funny part was I walked out of the bullpen with a 1-run lead going, this might be the best stuff I've ever had in my life, walking out of a bullpen. And it ended up being just an assortment of 0-2 ground balls that found holes, and I threw some wild pitches, and I ended up just diving for wild pitches that are coming off of Bob Melvin's chest and coming back towards me on the mound, which I'd never seen before. But I ended up, it was part of the Baltimore people. As soon as I got into the clubhouse, it was like I tore the jersey off and put it in the trash can. Obviously, they pulled it out and they were selling it for charity.
Right.
But it was like my spikes were in the trash. It was just, I got one out. I don't know who it was before I gave up 5 runs. And then the next year, Pegs gets traded over to us.
Mm-hmm.
And I just looked at him and I walked up, I shook his hand. I was like, thank you for not killing me, because I'm basically sitting on home plate waiting for a ball, and he's sliding by. He could have just, this was back in the contact days. He could have just taken my head off.
He could have Tykov'd you into next week.
Yeah. And he went sliding around the backside, doing a head first.
Wow.
And I just, shook his hand. I was like, thanks for not killing me, because you could have wiped me out.
Yeah, you had a lot of career left after that, so it's a good thing you didn't have a David Cohn situation like last week when we heard from Mark Gubiza, where it kind of slowed his development in the minors. Before we get into the cards themselves, do you have a favorite set? Because for me, it's not even that glamorous of a set, but Topps 93 is where it's at for me. And I don't know if it's because what's that?
Why?
I think it's probably a mix of, it's one of the first sets that I collected. I remember getting Don Russ 92 or 93, but that top set, you got the Kirby Puckett card with the huge baseball bat, and the Frank Thomas standing there with the bat over his shoulders, pretty iconic and pretty valuable. And it kind of was just affirmed that was probably one of my favorite sets, because I was thumbing through and found a bunch of them. And actually I bought a full set from a guy I work with for $25. And I think a handful of those cards individually are worth that much. And he kept them in pristine condition. So I've got a few that are in there. It's a young Ken Griffey Jr. And there's actually a rookie Chad Curtis that's worth, or Jim Edmonds, not Chad Curtis. I got my outfielders mixed up there. Coming attractions, Jim Edmonds, that's worth some money. And it was a nice little investment for me about a year before all those cards took off. But for me, Topps 93 is where it's at as far as kind of a nostalgia slash, what I grew up on card season. How about you? Do you have a specific year, whether it was either as a player or as a kid?
Well, the 85 Topps, which had the 80 the addition of the 84 Olympic team. So McGuire, Clark, that group of players, that was most of their rookie cards.
Yep.
I think I found that at a trade show for like $200 decades ago, like in 89, 90, when I finally got a little bit of money.
Yeah.
It was $200. I was going, there's a whole bunch of really good players in that one. And I always liked the 89. I think I think it was the first year of Upper Deck was 89.
Okay.
And so I had a rookie card in there. Griffey had a rookie card in there. I don't know if Frank Thomas's was in there. Doesn't seem like it would fit. He was 90. So I like the 89 Upper Deck because it was kind of a cool, and that was probably one or two of those goofy cards that I talked about with the shaved head, or the Oakley sitting in the thing, were probably Upper Decks.
Well, I might have to cherry pick some of my my Twins collection to find some of you. We probably won't get any Glavins or Maddoxes unless I missorted, because I put all those in a different book, but we can go through those as well. But we'll have some pretty good players in here. And so we're just going to go right for it. This is our stack. It looks like it's, I don't know, probably 30, 40 cards. We probably won't get through all of them. You got to be out of here in about a half hour. But again, if this idea takes off, we're going to do some bonus content on Patreon. Subscribers at any level will get it, along with a bunch of other stuff. So our first card is Billy Joe Robidell. It looks like a Topps 87. And it says that this is actually an on this date. Jim Hunter pitches a perfect game for the A's against the Twins. So that doesn't really tell us much. Billy Joe Robidell, born in Massachusetts in 1964. So a little bit older than you. I suspect you don't have any Billy Joe Robidell stories.
I don't. I'm going with the Catfish Hunter, though. No hitter on that date. And then if I was to tell you that a Billy Joe Robidell was not born in Louisiana, I mean, how many
Right.
guesses? How many guesses would you get to Massachusetts?
Born on the Bayou. If you're named Billy Joe, I almost feel like that's a rite of passage. So yeah, no, I'm surprised. Billy Joe Tolliver, Billy Joe Armstrong, who knows? But I would not have guessed Massachusetts in probably about 30 guesses.
Okay, so if he was born in 64, I was born in 66, and he was in the big leagues in 87 there.
Yeah.
23, hypothetically.
And that's the American League. You must have just missed him. He went in the June draft in 82. So he must have been a high school. Yeah, he was a high school pick.
Got to the big leagues quick.
Yeah, left-handed first baseman. 23 homers and 132 RBIs in El Paso in 85. That'll get you to the big leagues.
Wonder what happened to him, because he wasn't with the Brewers in 89.
Yeah. Well, the Brewers had some pretty good position players back then, so maybe he got blocked. Same set. Actually, I think we got a lot of that top set. Atlanta Braves, Andres Thomas. On this day, it says Nolan Ryan pitched a no-hitter in 1981. Boca Chica, Dominican Republic, 1963 with the Braves. You may not have seen much of him.
Nope, got nothing.
All right. Cory Schneider, outfielder / shortstop with Cleveland at the time, born in 1962. I don't remember any specific stories. I'm showing it off the screen here. But he played for quite a while. He'd probably have some kind of story, right?
He, my agent represented him.
Okay.
I think he was one of I don't hold me on this one. I think he was one of the Olympic guys as well. I'm not sure.
That's his rookie card, by the way. And was he one of the Cleveland guys that we talked about that Cleveland core that they didn't keep before Cleveland core that they did keep with Lofton and Bell and all those guys. I guess Bell was part of the earlier one that just stayed. But I feel like he was one of the guys that was part of that first group that, maybe ended up moving on a little bit.
He did. I don't know where he moved on to, but he was represented by my agent. So I got a phone call from him while I was at Auburn. And he basically was, Cory Schneider, which you knew the name, and was recommending my agent, Jeff Morad. Cory ended up, every time we'd play Cleveland, it'd be, stop over, say hello. He he's one of the guys where you pick an arm and for the scouts, it goes 20 to 80. Cory Schneider's arm had to be about a 79. He just had a cannon from right field.
Well, no wonder they list him as a shortstop and a right fielder. He was 4th in AL Rookie of the Year voting that year in, I think that's 80. What is it? 86. He was 4th behind Jose Canseco, Wally Joyner, and Mark Eichhorn. So pretty decent class there. Holy smokes. Mark Eichhorn is a reliever. 0 starts, 14 wins, a .172 ERA, 7.3 WAR. Now, I don't know how familiar you are with WAR, but a 7 WAR season out of the bullpen is absolutely insane. Again, 157 innings, so he pitched quite a bit, but that's still an incredible season.
He had 157 innings out of the bullpen
and 166 strikeouts. It says 0 game starts, 69 appearances. That's insane, man.
I've never that season should be discussed a lot more because I've never even heard of that season from him.
Side armor, right? I think he had that goofy side armor.
Low 3/4, way low 3/4. Had a nice career. Just I've never that season's astronomical. For 7 WAR, I mean, I think my best WAR is my rookie year. It might have been like a 5.5.
Yeah, right. Howard Johnson, 1993 tops. Now, oh, by the way, Cory Schneider did end up moving around a little bit. White Sox. He didn't do much after Cleveland. So this is a 93 tops. It's all dinged up, so it might be one of my original cards from when I was a kid. Howard Johnson. Now, we talked about Howard Johnson for a minute with Gubiza last week, if I'm not mistaken. He talked about how he couldn't even get any playing time on that stacked Tigers team in 84. By the time I saw him in 92, 93, it was pretty much over for him. And when people hear about Howard Johnson now, they think about hotels, I guess, but pretty darn good player back in that day.
He was. I thought he was a big part of it was 86 Mets.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 86 Mets on the back of this card, 245 average, 10 homers, 220 at bats. So he was probably mixing and matching at third base with trying to think of who would be the other one over there at that point.
Ray Knight. No. Ray Knight.
Well, we're gonna look. Again, I hope people find this entertaining because it's a lot of fun for me. Yeah, Ray Knight played 137. Your guy Lenny Dykstra was on that team.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to, for those out there, I'm trying to get Lenny via Twitter and DMs to jump on our show with us. And he's like, the last comment he gave me was, I don't remember the 90s. So
Probably doesn't remember. Then he probably definitely doesn't remember the '86 team. But
so that's what we're trying to get Lenny. But yeah, Hojo,
and I only want to talk about the '93 Phillies. I don't want to get into anything that's going on after 1999 with Lenny Dykstra. We're going to stay out of that if we can help it. Anyway, Howard Johnson, we're talking about.
Good player.
Few 30 homer seasons, probably peaked in 1991, 38 homers and 117 RBIs. But like a lot of guys in that era, fell off fairly quickly and ended up in Colorado. A little bit of a Dale Murphy vibe there.
No, he was a really good player during the late 80s with the Mets. And I think the only time if I ever faced him was in spring training when we'd run down to Port St. Lucie.
Yep, that's probably right.
Yeah. And we'd run down there from Bradenton or Sarasota, wherever the Orioles were training that year. And that was the only time I really ever saw him.
Wait, you
been watching on TV.
You guys trained in Bradenton?
It was actually Sarasota.
Okay, because I've been to Bradenton, and that to me does not seem like a good location for a spring training stadium, especially the Pirates City now.
That's where the Pirates are. Yeah.
Weird spot, man.
Well, yeah, the Orioles were weird. My rookie year, 89, we do 2 weeks in Sarasota at Twin Lakes, get on a bus, drive down to Miami, and do the rest of spring training down in Miami, which was really no bueno at that time.
Sounds like you were splitting time like the Rays want to do with Montreal and Tampa, or St. Pete, as it were. All right, here's a fun one. A guy who was in the American League while you were, and his career spanned almost exactly yours. 1988 Don Russ of Bobby Witt. What do you got on Bobby Witt?
Yeah, I met him once or twice. Obviously, son was the second pick, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. Bobby Jr., you might make the big leagues here very soon.
Didn't he already come up?
No, I don't. Well, maybe he did. I know they were talking about bringing him up at the start of the year. No, he hasn't been up yet. People were upset he didn't make it at the beginning of the year, and then he ended up not making it at all. And he's got he's a young kid yet, but he's going to be one of those phenoms. Maybe not a Fernando Tatis Jr., but one of those absolutely terrific players. He's going to make them make a tough decision on Adalberto Mondesi if he can ever stay healthy. But anyway, Bobby Witt, good player, really good player.
Supposed to be a heck of an athlete, legend roaming around the big leagues. But yeah, he was supposed to be a heck of an athlete.
And third overall pick in 85. So another one of those top round guys out of college, kind of like you were. You went to Oklahoma. So how was Oklahoma regarded college baseball wise back in your day?
I think they're all right. They were seriously overshadowed by Texas and Oklahoma State.
Yeah, of course.
So, they were number 2 in their state and wasn't a big state.
140 wins, though. I mean, that's a pretty good big league career, almost 2,500 innings. So, Bobby Witt around for quite a while. We got a Topps 1985 of Jackie Gutierrez. I believe it's a Red Sox shortstop. Anything on him?
I got nothing.
Yeah, no.
It's funny. You've named about 3 or 4 guys with that was the oldest one you had, 85, but 87, and I've never heard of them.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
And I'm in the big leagues 2 years or inside of a year and a half later.
It's not quite the NFL in terms of here today, gone tomorrow, but it's not that far off. Here's a good one. 1990 Upper Deck, Blue Jays right-hander, played for a very long time, Todd Stoddelmeyer.
He's one of my favorites.
That might have to be a guy we get on the show, right? Maybe you think he'd jump on?
He would. It would be a very intense 1 hour. He was about as intense as there was. Played with him in '99 in Arizona.
Third overall in the '85 draft in the secondary phase. So back-to-back third overall guys with him and Witt, I think.
So funny story. So Stoddelmeyer, always an opponent. Never talked to him. Then he comes over 99 and we're sitting down and he started the game 160 against Baltimore in 1989. And every Baltimore fan that's on here will know what I'm talking about. Stoddelmeyer starts against Jeff Ballard And Baltimore, the Orioles are about to go from last to first. 88, they lost 107 games. 89, we win, 87 or 89. And so it comes down to the final weekend, and the Blue Jays are up a game over us in Baltimore. And so the Friday night game, Stoddelmeyer starts against Jeff Ballard. Stoddelmeyer's first pitch of the game is a fastball. And he's telling me the story. And he goes, I'm doing, Nuke LaLoosh of, I'm going to announce my presence with authority here. First pitch of the game, he's going to throw his best fastball of the game. And Phil Bradley covers it into like the second or third deck in Toronto.
Skydome?
And just hammered it. And
I love that stadium.
Stoddelmeyer's just looking at me going, yeah, you want something to deflate you. You go out there, you're all fired up. You're going to just best fastball of the game, just announce it right here. And it just gets hammered. And it's 1-0 right away.
It's like exit velocity. It's 95 in and 95 out, or 93 in and 93 out. Yeah. He did play for a long time. Looks like injuries at the end, though. You see a lot of guys, and they don't really talk about this, where it's 200 innings, 174, and then suddenly they're down in the 60s and 70s. I think a lot of guys really wore out their arms back then. And again, it's not to say that this era is any better or worse for that, but my theory has always been that baseball was war in the sense that before Tommy John surgery, or before it got as good as it is now, if guys got hurt, they were just kind of done. You just got kind of left by the side of the road. There wasn't this long process of, okay, you have TJ surgery in a year, you're going to be 75% as good as you were, and then it's going to progress each year after that. The Nolan Ryans exist because a method of survival. You threw that many innings because you were the one guy who could. If Nolan Ryan's arm blows out in 1969 or 71, maybe we're not talking about him in the same way we're talking about him now. Almost certainly we're not. But I think we saw that with Ben McDonald too, who was on the show a couple weeks ago. He, the workload kind of caught up to him.
There's a lot of it, and everybody reveres, and rightly so, Sandy Koufax, and he retired after 9 years. And you kind of, I guess, growing up, you look at it going, I don't understand why he didn't try to stay around, try to fight more. There weren't options. I blew my elbow out in 93, and this is 27 years ago. Yeah. And the Tommy John surgery was literally, I might never be able to throw a baseball 10 feet after I have the surgery, or I might come back and be golden. And it was literally, this was with Frank Jobe, the guy who invented it. This was a 50-50 coin flip. And I chose not to do it. And I ended up tearing it again, 8 years later. But you talk about Nolan Ryan, and he was the guy that I went and talked to initially after I tore it. I found out through Davey Lopes, our first base coach, who played with him in Houston, that Nolan had tore his elbow in 87 and pitched through it, and then came back and rehabbed on his own work. His work ethic was bar none. And he came back the next year and ended up pitching another 6 years. And so Nolan Ryan was one of the key people that I spoke to all that year and in the off season of workout routines, how to build this thing up, how to get strong. And, he was, my hero for kind of walking me through all that when he didn't have to do anything.
Well, hang on, 87, he'd have been 40 years old then.
Right?
I thought he was born in 47. So that would make him 40. Let's see here.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking, he retired in 94. I think he was 46, wasn't he?
Yeah, 47 to 87. 40 years old, you blow out your elbow and you pitch 6 more years. That's both marvel of like physical training, but also physical endurance and just
that's amazing. Yeah, I didn't realize he was 40 when he did it. I was thinking, mid 30s, but Lopes was telling me he'd be, throwing his bullpens to start, get ready for the game. And it was just like me. I couldn't throw 60 feet to start out. It was so miserable and so painful. I'm throwing 20 feet. And they said Nolan would get on the mound and go through, the leg kick and basically, spike it into the AstroTurf and get it to the catcher, and then slowly start building it up. But
unbelievable.
It took me an hour to warm up when I tore mine. And so it was, the Orioles knew it, and they kept throwing me out there. And so the top of the 7th, I would start getting loose for the top of the 9th.
Wow. What's the pain like when you tear your elbow? I mean, obviously I've never done it, and I assume it hurts like the dickens when you're trying to throw, but I mean, are you up at night with pain? Are you waking up with stiffness? Both, neither? Is it a pain that is more pronounced when you're doing the action? Take us through that.
It's much more pronounced when you, sorry. Wow. I'm not getting emotional. I'm losing my voice.
Oh,
it's, I described it as somebody had taken a chainsaw and cut my elbow in half, and then said,
bad.
"Hey, go throw a baseball."
Yeah.
It didn't keep me up at night. It was stiff, cranky, and then, like I said, every time that you go back to throw, you're opening up that ligament, and I think mine was like a 90% tear. So you're just, every throw's immense pain. And like I said, it took me an hour to get to the point where I could walk into a big league game when it used to take me 15 pitches.
Wow. Well, here's a good one, another fun one. A guy that we talked about last week. It's a 1987 Topps of Brett Saberhagen.
Sabes. He and Gubazov were two of the nastiest dudes. You got them back to back with Kansas. All you did was hope that you got 3, 4, 5 when you played Kansas City in 88, 89, 90. It was like, if you got 1 and 2, you're going, all right, we just got to find a way to win the third game, whoever that's against. Yeah,
salvage the series. Is that another guy that I feel like his career didn't end the way he would have wanted? But I mean, borderline Hall of Famer, just towards the end, kind of tailed off.
Cy Young.
Actually, not so much the end of his career, the middle of his career that was a little bit shaky, and then he comes back and wins 15 ball games with the Red Sox in 1998. I didn't remember that he was with the Red Sox in 98, 99, so he'd have been somewhere behind Pedro in that. Pedro was incredible in those years. Maybe the best pitching seasons of my lifetime, other than maybe Maddox in 93 or 4 or whatever, or 96. I can't remember.
I didn't know Sabes was over there. I was over in the other league at that point, so you're not keeping track of what the Red Sox are doing.
How about
Sabes won Cy Young 88 and 90, right?
85 and 89.
My bad.
So how about winning one when you're in your age 21 season? Where do you go from there? I mean, we talked with Gubaza about those guys getting spoiled with those 84, 85, whatever seasons. I mean, it doesn't get much better than a Cy Young and finishing 10th in the MVP, and you're barely old enough to drink at the time. That's incredible.
Yeah, no, he was. I really, there are people out there, I can't tell you enough of how good Gubaza and Saberhagen were with Kansas City in the late 80s.
Oh, and they had David Cohn too. Yeah, just David Cohn. Just
what they got rid of. You need to look up, but they got rid of Cohn. Cohn wasn't there in 89, 90.
No, they traded him to was he by the Mets with them?
It was the Mets, but
he barely played. Okay, so he only played in 86 with them, and then he went over to the Mets I'm scrolling here, so give me a second. With Chris Yelich for Rick Anderson, Morrow, Gazzo, and Ed Hearn. Not really sure I understand that one. And then the Mets traded him to the Blue Jays for Jeff Kent. That's a pretty good trade for both sides. But Rick Anderson, Morrow, Gazzo, and Ed Hearn. I have to imagine Hearn is the catcher, right?
Yeah, but
that trade makes no sense.
He wasn't there Hearn wasn't there in 89. That was Boone. So, I mean, none of those guys were so when I played against Kansas City in 89, none of those guys were there.
Wow. That's not a good trade, man. That's a bad trade.
That's a bad trade.
This one, I don't think you're going to have anything on, but it's a Topps 89 of Braves lefty German or Herman Jimenez.
Nope, got nothing.
Maybe this one, Frank Depino. It's another 89 Topps. He was around for, I think, a little while. He'd been around for a while at that point, was a relief pitcher. And so 20 saves back in 83, it looks like, with Houston, back when they were in the National League. So I think I remember him kind of tailing off when I started watching baseball. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, 93 was his last season. So he's 65 now. He finished off in Kansas City in 93. So you wouldn't have touched up with him.
I didn't play with him. I played against. Yeah, I played against him. The name's familiar.
But when you're facing another team's reliever, you don't really, I mean, you're already, when you're a starting pitcher, you're not facing the other starting pitcher outside of National League and they're hitting. So it always seemed kind of weird to me to frame a game as a pitcher's duel, because you're both putting up zeros, but you're not facing each other specifically. Am I wrong in saying that's kind of a weird dichotomy?
Nah, I mean, I look at it as you're in a fight with the other guy's pitcher of who's going to blink first.
It's like chess rather than combat.
Yeah, and so there are games. Well, I'll just go late 80s, early 90s with Roger Clemens. It was going to end up being 2-1, 1-0, and you as the other guy, if I didn't start a game, but if I did, I got Clemens that night. I can't give up anything.
Well, what about you as a closer? You know that you might be working in that 1-run game at the end if the other guy doesn't take it the distance.
Oh yeah, no, I knew I was going to be working, but I mean, I'm saying from the starting side, I'm going, I can't give up anything.
Oh no,
Randy Johnson or Pedro, that's the pitcher's duel part of it. Yeah, no,
I just mean specific to you though. If you're the closer, you're thinking, I might be in tasked with protecting this guy's W, and it's going to be a tight one.
Oh, you know what? It didn't matter. Every day I woke up going, who knows what's going to happen today.
Okay.
And I was ready for a 1-run lead, no matter who, what, where, when.
Got it. So now we've got another Topps 89. We've got a run on Topps 89 of Manny Trio.
Was that Cubs?
Yep.
I got nothing on Manny.
I feel like that's a name we've heard a lot of, but is he a coach or something? Or I feel like I've heard about. Oh, he played forever. The card goes back to 73 with the A's. So 73 to 89, right. And he's wearing a catching helmet. That's an impressive career. We got a Fleer 90. I know I have a Fleer 90 of Gregg Olson, by the way. This is Joe McGrain.
Joe McGrain took me out of my recruiting trip, the University of Arizona in 1985. No
kidding.
All-American pitcher. He was a dude.
He was on that 87 team that faced the Twins in the World Series. You remember watching that World Series at all?
Yeah.
Good World Series.
Oh, yeah.
Pales in comparison, I think, to 91 when Twins fans talk about World Series the Twins played in, which if they're doing that, they run out of World Series pretty fast after 87, 91, and 65. But they had, who else did they have in 87? I know they had Bob Forsch, and they had Ken Daly. I'm trying to think of who else they had back then. The offense, I think Jack Clark's 87 is one of the least talked about impressive seasons. And I think he might have been hurt during the postseason and didn't play very much or something, because his 87 season, he hit 286. His on base was 459. His slugging percentage was 597. And not only did he hit 35 homers, but he walked 136 times. That's an OPS plus of 176. Boy, he feels like an underappreciated hitter from that era, man. He could really swing it.
Great. He was frightening too. He was a big dude.
Yeah,
he was frightening at the plate. But that St. Louis team, that was Willie McGee, Ozzie Smith,
Pendleton.
Yep. I'm missing the main guy.
What's going on here? We had some commercials there on Jack Clark's player page. I'm sure those came across the air. Yeah, I don't know that he played that much in that postseason. So maybe I'm wrong. I thought he was hurt, but I could be completely wrong. Here we've got a score. Score is a set we haven't really talked about. Like Fleer, not doing it anymore. This is a 91 Jack Doherty. I don't know if you'd have anything on him.
First baseman.
Let's see what he has.
Hold that card up again, please.
Sure. Never had a regular. Got to hold it where you can see it. Never had a regular position. Played all over. Patient hitter. Polished pinch hitter. hit 402 in the Pioneer League in 1984. That's pretty
Jack
impressive.
Doherty?
Doherty.
Texas?
Yep.
Yeah, remember the name a little bit. Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it.
Well, this is a guy you probably haven't heard of. It's a Topps 1990. It's Lou Whitaker.
Sweet Lou.
How could I say that? He and I'm going to make a connection here that probably won't be good. I feel like Tony Phillips was another guy that we didn't talk about enough, that, some good players where got overshadowed a little bit by maybe Alan Trammell or other guys they played with. But boy, Lou could really play.
Well, I mean, Lou's still in the talk of why is he not in the Hall of Fame now? Trammell's in.
Right. Yeah, Lou should be in.
Lou in that short porch in right field in Tiger Stadium was not fun.
No, I'm sure not. Yeah, he can really play, and when we talk about long-term double play combinations, that's one of the best ones you can bring up.
Yeah, he was gone by the time I got to Detroit in '96. Trammell was still there.
It was pretty much on the tail end there, right? Yeah, Trammell.
Yeah, my funny story on Whitaker this was 89 or 90, and Frank Robinson was a gut feeler. He, if they had analytics, he would have gone against every one of them just based on his gut. And I remember we had tie and run on second base. We're playing Detroit, and he has me walk Trammell to get to Whitaker.
That probably didn't happen often.
Oh no! I mean, Trammell could rake, and Trammell. There wasn't a fastball in the inner half that Trammell didn't hit for a double. You never went in there. And so he walks. I'm standing on the mound, going, "You just walked a righty to get to a lefty." And I was like, "Yeah, I get lefties out better, but it's Lou Whitaker." I'm going, "What do we do?" I think I got him out too, and I just kind of walked in, looking at Frank, going, "All right, whatever. You just." I have no idea what you're doing.
I feel like that's walking Puckett to get to Herbeck, though. Like, I don't. It's
just kind of like I got the righty thing, but back on Trammell, one of my favorite, Mike Flanagan, was a great storyteller, and he would talk about Trammell every time Trammell came up, and he's like going, I think it's about 5 years ago, I threw him a fastball in, and he hit it for a double off the wall, and then I don't go back. And then it's like after about 5 years, I go, you know what? I probably should bust him back in there again. And then he hits another double, and he goes, that's why I don't go back in there. And he goes, I do it like every 5 years. That's a guy who can, who pitched for 10 or 15 years. And he's going, I've been in there twice, and they're like doubles.
No, it's like voting every 4 years. It's a rite of passage. So
yeah, I got to go in.
Here's one, a 1993 Leaf. We haven't talked about any Leaf. Gregg Jeffries.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have so many cards in my collection at home here from the late 80s that are talking about how great Gregg Jeffries was going to be. Future Hall of Famer. Yeah, future Hall of Famer and all that. And then you look at his career stats, and it never took off. I mean, he had a nice career. Don't get me wrong, but he was not an above league average hitter in any appreciable playing time after he was 27. Not a ton of power, but he could really hit. He had 342 in 1993, which is the year of the card that we have here. But I feel like it still felt like they thought he was going to be a superstar, and he ended up just being merely very good. I also too, and this is just my perception as a little kid, I always felt like it looked like he was wearing the biggest batting helmet he could ever find on every single card I had. I had like the Kmart rookie one in '87. And I swear it looked like he was wearing the Great Gazoo's helmet from Flintstones.
You pulled out Gazoo, attaboy.
Not bad.
I didn't know if you had that in you.
Well, and we talked about Flintstones and Jetsons when we did the crossover episode without you a few weeks ago. And that's what it was kind of like, was the Flintstones and Jetsons meeting. We were talking to the British guys on our international crossover episode. But so Jeffries would have been in the NL most of his career. He was in Detroit late, but that was when you were in the NL. So I doubt you probably saw too much of him.
Jeffries was, I really didn't face him very often, but he was my hotel roommate on that University of Arizona trip when they had, they brought back all the old players for an alumni game. And Ron Hassey was there, Terry Francona, and Pete Rose was the honorary manager. So they brought in Gregg, Jeffries, and me on our recruiting trips for that game. And so he was my roommate. So I'd known him since '85.
Sounds like someone's cooking at your house.
Well, we turned on it's gotten cold here in Alabama for a spell, about 50. And
I see behind you, there is a broom waving underneath the fire alarm. Yeah. This is what happens when you record live. That was me yesterday. I made a pizza for my daughter and me while mom was driving home from work. And you know what? We're real people. We have real people issues, and that's one of them.
Go ahead. We turned on the gas fireplace for the first time, and smoke alarms went off, and it was like, I'm walking around smelling gas coming out of the fireplace. I'm like, okay, it's got a fire on it, so we got damage limited, but it's like, yeah, we're in trouble.
Oh boy, yeah, no, it's that season to start warming it up. You got time for a couple more? I know we're running up. Okay, Mets 88 tops. Dave Magadan.
Oof.
Mags got He got name dropped in Little Big League when the Twins were trying to clinch I guess it would be the Western Division in the movie. And I think it's Bowers or whoever says, Mags, I know you're a decent human being, but I hope you die like a dog, because they wanted him to strike out so they could win the division or play. I think they tied the division, end up playing the Mariners in the tiebreaker game. And then Griffey hit a homer or something. Griffey stole a homer from Lou Collins. Anyway, Mags was around for a long time. Pretty good pinch hitter, if I remember correctly.
Really? Yeah, no, good player, hitting coach for a little while after his career. Yeah. Had an unbelievable season. I think it was in '83 with the University of Alabama.
Oh, he's a tide, roll tide.
Oh no, he had a huge. I remember because they made the College World Series, and his season was so unbelievable. Growing up in Omaha, I went out just to watch him play because he was that good in college. Solid overall player. Ended up pinch hitting. I think I faced him in like '99 as a pinch hitter. So,
way at the end of it. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Last one we got, and I think it's one that's probably a pretty good one. For reference, people, we still have half a stack of our cards left with Doug Sisk at the front. We're not going to talk about Doug Sisk because I don't know if you have a Doug Sisk.
I played with Doug. I played with Sisk in '88.
Well, maybe we'll start with him next time. I'll keep a stack here. We have a 90 Fleer of Harold Reynolds.
HR.
Got thrown out by your guy, Bo Jackson, and maybe the most iconic throw in, recorded MLB history, although it was only kind of recorded because they only have like half of the footage of it.
Well, they got Bo at the fence, and then they got Boone catching the ball at home plate, and that is the extent of the footage.
Well, I think the throw teleported, so maybe it's okay.
Oh, man. Harold Reynolds is a good player. Came to Baltimore in '93 after Billy Ripken left.
Not a bad exchange there. Two guys who can play all over.
Solid dude, but Harold had the reputation of a closer killer, and it wasn't for home runs. It was always you had a runner in scoring position, man. He found a way to get a single somehow. And
so you were glad to have that guy on your side.
Yeah, I got tired of him beating me. I think he got me like 2 or 3 times.
Would you have been surprised back in the day to hear that he became a media guy and he can talk? Some people don't like his style, but
he's well-spoken, good baseball guy, knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been, I would have put the Ripken brothers are both doing it. That's not shocking. They both, speak well, intelligent, and very baseball smart. Harold, I would have thought Musina might have done it, but it's not his personality.
Maybe an Orioles thing, though. You got a lot of Orioles doing it.
Well, then you look at the press that we had. It was Ken Rosenthal.
Yep.
Tim Kirkjian.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had Peter Schmuck. We had Richard Justice, excuse me. Mm-hmm. I mean, we had an unbelievable cast of media guys that ended up turning into be, national figures.
Wow.
So it was, I don't know what it was in the water there in Baltimore.
That might have been coming out of the harbor. Who knows? But we promised to get you out of here by 10 o'clock. We're going to do exactly that. I hope people enjoyed remembering some guys with us. We'll see how the people react to it. This might become a regular feature on Patreon, maybe 10, 15-minute episodes of us just remembering some guys. We'll start with Doug Sisk next time. Was it Doug Sisk? Is that did I say that
Yeah,
right?
it was Doug Sisk.
We'll talk about
88.
Sisk next time around because we're running out of time here. But hey, thanks to
Brandon,
everyone.
awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you to everyone who checked us out this week on that 90s baseball pod powered by Access Twins. And we'll catch you again in a week. Peace.
See ya.